everyone, welcome back to Bookworm Biddies. I'm so happy to see many of you have tuned in today to see what we have to talk about. As you're noticing, we are doing this solo still in efforts to practice social distancing. I will be talking to you today, and in future episodes, you'll get a chance to hear from Ms. Hagmeyer and Mrs. Weber. Since this is the month of April, if you are not aware, it is National Poetry Month. So what we will be featuring in our upcoming episodes are books that we enjoy that fall under narrative poetry genre. I love narrative poetry. I think that the books have a lot to offer. I love that they're a fast read because it's just a series of short poems. I love the lyrical nature of the poems. And I have found that many of you, my students, have enjoyed reading them as well this year. So what I'd like to start off today by sharing with you is the book that I recently finished called Caminar by Skila Brown. This is a fantastic historical fiction narrative poetry book. And what you will see is inside of the book, the chapters are just short poems. Some of them are 2 pages, some of them are just 1 page. You'll see that the lines can sometimes be broken up like you would find a poem to be formatted as well. I thought this was fantastic. I had read another book by Skila Brown a few weeks ago called To Stay Alive, and I shared that book with you in the classroom, and many of you went on to read it yourselves, and you gave me glowing reviews as well. So Caminar by Skila Brown takes place in Guatemala, which is located in Central America, in the early 1980s. And it follows the story of a young boy named Carlos. He lives in a village in the mountains with his mother and other members of his community. And they're trying to navigate this turmoil that the country is facing when the democratic government was overthrown by a militant group. And there are citizens of Guatemala that try to organize themselves to stand up against this corrupt government. And I think that the author does an amazing job of making it difficult in the beginning to know who the good guys are. Are the good guys the government? Are the good guys the rebels as they're labeled by the government? And it's really difficult to know who to trust. And you'll experience that along with Carlos as he is a young boy trying to figure out, what is his place in this time of his country. So I wanted to share with you the inside cover and also the dedication page, because I feel that they will give you a great glimpse inside of the book. So here's the inside cover. Carlos knows that when the soldiers arrive with warnings about the communist rebels, it's time to be a man and defend the village. Keep everyone safe. But Mama says, not yet. He's still just her quiet moon-faced boy. And when the unthinkable happens, Mama tells Carlos to run, hide, and then find her. All alone, Carlos must join a small band of guerrillas as they race to the top of the mountain where Carlos's grandmother lives and warn her village about the soldiers. So you will walk this walk with Carlos, and your heart will go out for him when he has to experience something that no child should ever have to experience. I found the dedication page to be really profound. Skila Brown writes, in memory of the more than 200,000 people who were killed or disappeared in Guatemala between 1960 and 1996. May they always be remembered. So she writes this book as a tribute to the people who had to live through this experience. And I think she did a really amazing job of capturing this in a way that all readers can empathize with Carlos. And it gives you just a nice overview of what was happening in Guatemala during this time. I would encourage many of you to pick this book up. I think you'll like it. It's a very quick read because it's so short and it's written in narrative verse. And if you enjoy this, you might want to also check out her other book, to Stay Alive, also written by Skila Brown. So that's what I've read recently for narrative poetry. And I am going to continue my journey with narrative poetry by reading this book. This is my up next book. For those of you that are my students, you know I always share with you what I've just finished reading, what I'm currently reading, and what's up next. So my up next narrative poetry book is another historical fiction narrative verse book, and it's called The Watch That Ends the Night, a novel by Allan. This is about the Titanic. I have always been fascinated by the Titanic. I love the movie. I love reading things about this moment in our history. And I think Allan does a really great format in that he sets the book up again in poetry format, and he has picked several different passengers of the Titanic to retell their stories. So they come from all different walks of life, different classes, and he gives a very well-rounded picture of what happened on that journey. He also weaves in historical artifacts. So whether they are news reports, or they are journal entries, or they're information about the real passengers on the boat. So I'm really excited to read this. I had a student a few years ago read this and do an amazing job retelling the story and modeling a poem that she wrote after what she read when she read The Watch That Ends the Night. So this is my up next narrative verse poetry book that I'm excited to read, and I'll share with you in another episode. So that's all I have for you today. I hope that you will take this month as a chance to pick up a narrative poem book if you've never done so before. If you check me out on Goodreads and go through the books I've read in the past, you'll see that many of them will fall under narrative poetry. And I encourage you to try one of them out. I think you'll be surprised if you approach it with a really open mind and embrace this idea of writing a book in the genre of narrative poetry. I hope that all of you are staying safe. I hope that you're enjoying this time with your family, and I hope to see you all tune back in next time as we continue to share our favorite poem books with you. Have a great day. Take care.